might sound strange, but I'd give my life for you. Nothing's changed, I just ran away from the truth. One of us makes a mistake, we work our way through the heartache, and then we're back where we started. We've gone full circle again, but that's what we do. That's just what we do. Last weekend, that was your turn, I guess. Let's pretend that we are making progress. One of us makes a mistake, we work our way through the heartache, and then we're back where we started. We've gone full circle again. Know how this ends might sound strange, but I'd give my life for you. Nothing's changed, I just ran away from the truth. One of us makes a mistake, we work our way through the heartache, and then we're back where we started. We've gone full circle again, but that's what we do. That's just what we do. Last weekend, that was your turn, I guess. Let's pretend that we are making progress. One of us makes a mistake, we work our way through the heartache, and then we're back where we started. We've gone full circle again, but that's what we do. That's just what we do. Last weekend, that was your turn, I guess. Let's pretend that we are making progress. One of us makes a mistake, we work our way through the heartache, and then we're back where we started. We've gone full circle again, like we always do. Like we always do.
Hey everyone, this is Sam Hudson speaking from thisquality.com. I am the CEO of this news company. This stream is brought to you especially for ATTICA project, so that they can have a little platform to speak on. So this topic tonight is about, like, are voters interested to vote this year in the general election for 2020. And ATTICA are a perfect a group of people to talk to about this idea. And in no way will this influence to you as an audience to indirectly vote for specific people. We're just going to be talking about exactly how voting works, all sorts of things. They will kind of give you the gist of everything. But we've got Mike ILES, which is the mana candidate. We've got Carly, which is the board member for ATTICA, and we've got Michael Kay for the Otaki candidate region. So without further ado, I'll bring it over to Michael Kay to start it all off.
Good evening, everybody. So, we're 3 weeks or 4 weeks out. What are we, 3 weeks out, guys?
3 weeks.
3 weeks today. We're out from an election. For a lot of people, I think it might be finally that it's actually over and all these signs and things come down and we get back to normal. So the question we're posing tonight, I mean, we've been out into the community. We've been... It's been great. It's been great to meet people. It's been what we've sort of looked forward to. We obviously couldn't do that earlier on with the levels, and now we're at level 1. We've been able to go out, hand out some brochures, and chat to people. It's been awesome. But we are picking up that there's a little bit of voter apathy out there, and there's a lot of young people in the Kapiti area that we're sort of wanting to. We've seen a lot of old people at these events. We've seen, we all, our age group, we've sort of always, we've been voters because that's what we were sort of told we had to do, or we had to vote for the family's party, which was often the thing, or if the family was in a certain profession, like if you were a farmer, that just sort of meant that you voted for National. If you were a teacher, that just meant that traditionally you voted for Labour, and so on and so forth. But, we've seen a lot of rapid change in politics. We've seen politics become very much about personality. We're very much in that range of politics now.
That's right.
So, and to be fair to the current leader, she is very, very popular, and the previous national leader was very, very popular too. So there's a lot of people that's all they're used to is a very popular leader. We've got the leaders debates coming up, and I've sort of, I've tried to think of what those are sort of like, and in a little bit of tongue in cheek, they actually are almost like a Punch and Judy show. They're both talking over each other and really saying you're worse than me, so vote for me. And so that's that's populism in a way. So grassroots politics just isn't like that, and we've seen little snippets, not much, but little bits. But we know what our own campaign in Otaki's been like, and what a great effort all of the candidates have made. So. And we know that we are absolutely sticking to the issues, and we're debating those issues, and it's fantastic because Otaki is like any small sort of medium-sized and a lot of little rural towns. We have really been on struggle street for quite some time. Our jobs have disappeared. Like give you some statistics in the Horowhenua area, 66% live below what's classed as the poverty line, which they only earn on average $23,000 a year. That's a very 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 miserable income. The Kapiti area, sure, it has had a injection of the road projects and things like that, but that's almost finished now. And we've sort of now had COVID, or maybe we haven't had it completely, but there's the next phase is the which was talked about a lot in our campaign meetings, is these wage subsidies are going to come off, and then what next? and we've got pretty set ideas of what we think, with removing GST and profit share, and bringing KiwiSaver home being three of the big fiscal changes that we think need to happen. But we also think that we have to really grab a hold of that productive economy again. And that's been well received, but that message we haven't got out to the rest, and I'm sure the other candidates have got their own messages, and they don't feel that that's happened either. So over the next 3 weeks, we are going to be, it seems unanimous across all of the candidates. They're all getting out there to put those ideas to you. What our question tonight is are people even really interested? That's the big question. And why vote? Can you just pretend that this politics thing, doesn't really happen? Or, Carly, you had a comment on social media that was, I think, really encompasses it a little bit. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yes, I actually asked these questions on social media today, yes, one of the comments was, no, I'm not going to be voting, because basically, what's the use? We get the same old, and your vote doesn't really count, which I can completely understand. I don't personally agree with it, but I think it is a sentiment that is quite prevalent in our population, and voter turnout has been decreasing slowly but surely over the years, and I think that it is that complete. It's not so much apathy as much as it is a sense of hopelessness. That what does it matter? Because what I think or what I feel isn't going to be upheld anyway. Although there was quite a strong discussion about whether if you choose not to vote, then you have no right to complain, which I also do not agree with at all, because that's what democracy is about. Democracy is about freedom of choice. Whether you vote or not, it is your choice, and you have that right. And whether you complain or not, that's your choice too, and you have that right, whether you voted or not. But it's quite a polarizing topic, really.
Yeah. Well, I just pulled up the comments for you guys so you can talk with the audience. So we got comments here, but I'll let you go if you're going to speak, Mike ILES, first.
Yeah, all I'd like to say is, come on, people, get involved. I still call it voter apathy, Carly, because of the decreasing number of people that are voting in elections. That number has dropped away over probably the past 2 elections up until now, and we've seen a little bit of that voter apathy out amongst the people we've been campaigning with. Not to say that everybody's like that. We've had some really good discussions with people out and about in the community, and I enjoy having a bit of a debate on why no GST and what are we going to do in place of it and things like that. But every vote adds up, so don't think that your vote doesn't count. Every single vote adds up, and if you're against something that's happening in the present system, speak up with your vote. Go out and vote and say it that way. If we get enough votes against the present system, we can change it, and we want to represent the public. We don't want to represent parties or big politics. We want to represent the public, you know, our electorates that we're standing for, and give them a voice inside the big building in Wellington. Yeah,
Awesome.
so some of the questions, Sam, do you want to
Yeah,
finish with some of the questions?
Oh, yeah,
I've pulled them
before we
up.
get-
I'm pretty sure you can see that, but we'll let Michael Kay say whatever he has to say.
So how it works is if you don't vote, then you're actually voting for whatever did get in because you didn't vote. So if 2.5 million people don't vote, that's a vote for the government that gets in the day.
Yeah.
So that's
Yes.
one way of looking at it. That's it's rough though, because you may have voted for them, but if that's the government that got in, and you actually really think about it and you say, well, I wouldn't have voted them buggers in, well then you've actually, by not voting, you've actually voted for them in. So that's the worst realisation way of looking at it. So going through the comments, really awesome to see somebody that's 19 years of age and is excited to vote. I wasn't.
Brilliant.
And here I am. Here I am standing. I am standing for Parliament, and I couldn't have given a stuff, because I thought it was old people stuff, and I thought, you know, what would I know? But every young person today is going to pay for what we all do now, or what the past ones have done, and so. You know, there's been a lot of discussion about whether the voting age should change and all that, and I'm hoping that discussion continues, because it's an interesting discussion. Hypothetically, or reality-wise, we didn't have to consider half the things that young people have to consider today. We didn't have to worry about them. Young people today have to worry about so much more stuff that we weren't even forced to worry about. So I think they're forced to grow up a lot faster than they should. That's the argument against. That's why it's the age that it is. But, you know, we're going down a slippery slope. We're already down it. But 19 years of age, I'm pumped to vote. Awesome. Good on you.
Good on you.
The thing is, and that vote will count, man. That vote will absolutely count. And the more people that you can get out in your age group that vote, or come see us, man. Get to know us.
Yes.
Get to know all of them. You know, they're all quite quirky. All the candidates in the Otaki electorate, and I guess they are everywhere. It's the sad thing about populist politics. You're not getting to know exactly who the 120 members of Parliament could be, and that would really make a change and make democracy work, which sort of answers some of the other questions. In populism, I really, really understand a lot of these comments that people fear that we're going into all sorts of totalitarian or authoritarian regimes. That's the feeling that you get when you're inside a populist type situation, because you don't see the whole mechanism working. Just breaking away from this just a little bit, government works a bit like, this is how government works. Okay, so you've got your 120 members sitting in Parliament. That's sort of the theatre. Underneath that is the engine room. It's the select committee. It's the different subcommittees. It's all of those things, that those members that actually turn up and do work, that's where you can really make a difference. Feeding into that is talking to your elected member. If anybody thinks that you can't talk to me, then you don't know me. It doesn't matter who you are. You elect me, I will be your eyes and your ears in there, and I will do everything I possibly can.
That goes for like most candidates that people talk to, right?
I'm not paid by any big corporation. I don't want to be. I don't care. I am motivated. Well, absolutely, I want the mandate from the people in Otaki, a decisive victory, defeating both National and Labour, and putting me in as a very, very first in this country as an independent number one. In we go. Let's do it. So the rest of politics that you see at the moment is not really representational of just how much work is actually happening in there, and we could go through a list of MPs from a wide range of political parties that have done some great things in this last term of government, getting rid of, starting to make work against the predatory lenders. That was really, really good work. There's some stuff that's been done, and I think it needs more polish to shut out foreign investment from buying up housing. I don't think it's good enough. So it didn't have enough participation from both sides of the house. And, you know, that brings us to the other point. In a democracy, it's not just, you can't just blame the government of the day that is in supposed power. It's also only works as good as the opposition is. And we've seen that over and over again for the last 15 years, where the opposition has not been strong enough. And so that will not be like that this time, regardless of who gets in, because of the economic pressure that this country is going to be under. It is going to be a tumultuous term of government. If the government that gets in makes it a full term, I'd be surprised. It's going to be tough. It's going to be a hell of a lot of work, and you got to be young, you got to be fit, you got to be real keen to do it, because it's going to be really, really tough. So, going through some of these comments, yeah, absolutely. Look, I'm not going to rip on either leader or either party, and you know, just what I'm saying is that. This is how this election will end. There will be only one leader left at the end of this election. And you think about that the losing party will soon swallow up and spit out the other leader, because they didn't actually bring what was wanted. And, you know, if that's Judith Collins, that's somebody that's a very, very experienced politician and has been a very, very tough person in politics. If it was Jacinda Ardern, it would be enormously surprising, considering how popular she is. But, you know, a national government did come with the same sort of looking majority at this point to an election day and did not get into power. So anything could happen. And what seems to happen always under populism is, if you do not get the party across the line, that's it, you're on the scrap heap. So yeah, that's wrong. That's what the ATTICA project's all about. It's not about leaders. It's making sure that we are absolutely fit for purpose as candidates to be able to represent you, and that we've got specialities that you know, when we finally get registered, and you know, that's for next election, but when we get registered, we've still got a lot of work to make sure that when we actually put this party together, that people that come in with a speciality are going to be able to stand up in Parliament, and with the rest of us, we support them through to get the thing that needs to go through, because there's so many things that are urgent. So let's scroll down. Let's go right up to the top, Sam, and let's of those comments, and let's make sure that we're getting them. Okay, so obviously I can't scroll down. That's why I'm not being bossy to Sam.
I'm in control.
Even if I could, you know, I'd probably delete the stream.
Yeah, that's why they have us. Yeah, okay, just let me know when to scroll. I'll do it for you. So what's happening right now, everyone?
I'm not gonna mention any names. But,
yeah.
There's somebody there exactly my age, and not on the electoral roll. I understand that, I do, but like this year would be a real good year to take the plunge, get on the electoral roll, and vote for who you want to vote for. It's you, like I said, you know, think of it from the worst possible
Non-voters.
situation. If you really are passionately don't like the current government, by not voting, you're making a vote. Well, you're making two votes because you're also making the MMP party vote for that party as well. So that was the thing that motivated me. And I'll tell you, look, as a young fella, I didn't have to vote how my dad voted, but you sort of felt like you were going to get excommunicated if you didn't, put it that way. And I used to tease him as he got older, and who'd you vote for, boy? I said, I'm not allowed to tell. And then I'd say I voted Labour, and he'd get shitty. But you know, I actually, you know, that it's not your vote. It's very much a personal choice, and it's Mike. You've got a great story about how someone cast their vote. I think that's a unique story. Do you want to tell that one, mate?
Yeah. In an earlier life, in a workplace that I worked, we were having a smoko break one morning, and we were discussing politics. It was getting close to one of the elections, and we were talking about who we were going to vote for. And the guy sitting next to me says, "Oh, I'm going to vote National." And he was a working man. He lived in a state house in, I won't say exactly where, but I says, "What do you want to do that for?" And he turned around and said to me, "Because I think they're going to win." He wanted to back a winner. He wanted to pick a winner. And that was his only reason for voting National. It wasn't the fact that later that year they were to pass laws that were going to pull down the very houses that he lived in and, you know, chase the people out. Some of them went to the street. Some of them had to go into private rentals. And I couldn't understand the rationale of why that person decided to do that. So some people read and listen to politics and vote on policy, but some people just want to pick a winner. And that to me was a sad indictment of politics in the country. I like Space Academy's comments. I totally agree with some of the stuff you've written in your comments there. And yes, it is a very important election, and we do need to encourage everybody who is eligible to get out there, get registered and go and vote. We could change the political system if things went the right way. And I'm not saying that we are the exact right way, but we feel we're heading in the right direction. As a project, we aim to change the way politics is in this country. We would like the people to have the say on what happens in the country and to help create policy, rather than have politicians make up dictatorships and just tell us what to do. We have to do certain things because a politician says it, you know, says it's the right thing to do. That shouldn't happen. The broader public vote these people in to represent them, not the other way around. Yeah. So that was my story about my good friend who I worked with back in the day.
We learn something every day, don't we?
It was so interesting to understand that he just wanted to pick a winner.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Just let me know if you want me to scroll. I've got the comments in front, but if you're watching, just comment, because they can actually see your comment.
Yep.
They can see it as it pops up right in front of them. So we have a little teleprompt kind of thing, and it just shows them all the comments, and they can just respond. But just let me know when to scroll through. But
there's one question there about the oath, Sam. Do politicians have to swear an oath? I think they have to swear an oath to their party. I don't know that they have to do one to Parliament. I think they've just got to give a valedictory speech, so to speak, which sort of introduces themselves to the Parliament. Mike might have more information on that. I'm not 100% sure on the correct answer to that.
Oh, you've got to. It's by definition, you're meant to swear an oath to the Queen via the Governor General. So, and like the thing is with oaths, if you're agnostic, you could pretty much say it's like, well, if you get dragged into court, you're going to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth. So if you're an atheist, you're sweet. The thing with that is, I haven't really seen anybody in the Otaki electorate that is not necessarily doing this with a passion to serve the people. I'm not saying that they've got the absolute goods or what have you. I don't know. Only trying to do it would be the way that you would be tested in that. But so, like, that's the sort of thing. None of those candidates standing in Otaki are actually current MPs. We're not, like what people like to say, we're not part of the establishment, or we're not. There was a great documentary on the other day, and a couple of reporters have actually sort of tried to talk to, how people view things. So, it's like we're not. The authority, when you say authority, it's actually really bad because it just stretches out to authoritarian. It's like we're not part of the official crowd. We're the sort of unofficial. We're just normal people. And, that's a great thing. Do you swear an oath? Well, I wonder what it is that actually turns you into that person becomes, like this person that can't answer a question. I can't imagine myself being like that because I just sort of, I love, like, it always amazes me when you're sitting, like when I ran for regional council, everybody sort of went like wilting violets when it came to question time. Oh, I hope they don't ask me this, or I hope that. So I don't care. Ask me. It's like, if I don't know, I'm just going to say I don't know. But the thing is you're meant to have a go, and it's a real challenge. So and that's actually, what is it that changes us? And I still think it actually really goes back to the thing that, what we found, why we're actually here. It's like you just cannot live under what we'd call a benevolent dictatorship. This leadership populism thing. It's like I think a really good leader actually acknowledges, it's not really obvious who the leader is. It's just that the thing runs really good. It really, really runs good, and everybody that's a working part of that, they're identifiable. All the parties that are in power at the moment, I can count on one hand really the people that sort of, they're in the news all the time or what have you, but the rest of the party, like once upon a time. Even at school, we could have named most of the politicians in government. I actually don't think there'd be a challenge. I'd love to do this to a reporter. I'd actually like to give him a page with 120 lines on it and write down the 120 MPs that are currently sitting in Parliament. I don't think that any of them could. Even Big Mouth Sean Plunkett, I don't think he could actually name the 120 members because they're just they don't even get a go, and that's not saying that they don't do anything. I think the people that you don't hear from actually do the work, and I think the loudmouths don't do anything. And I don't, I see some of the comments think that this one or that one might be the answer. Hey, that's your own personal choice. I don't personally believe a loudmouth is the actual answer. I think that you've got to be able to, in this situation going forward, you've got to actually be able to stitch the gap between the left and right paradigm. And if people can understand that, what I'm saying to them is that I've spent most of my life despising this other side or this other one or whatever, or the authority and all the rest of it. The only way I can see us getting to a situation where we have a great life in New Zealand, or we get back to a place where we don't have to live in fear, or we don't have to live in poverty, or we don't have to live in this disgusting mess that we've got the environment in, is that somebody has to stitch the left and the right together where it matters. And that's what I believe I can do, because and I believe that people that can do that are the ones to elect, not the ones that are going to make either side more abrasive. I think that if that's the line we go on, the whole place turns to turmoil. I think if we can stitch the left and the right together, and maybe it's been done a little bit in this country. I'm not saying join them. It's important to have a strong and healthy adversarial situation in government, but where it's actually like, it's sort of like mummy and daddy stop fighting, let's go down to the park, it's actually getting to the point, picking the good bits out and going, oh, okay, we can't quite agree with that, but so it's going to be really, really important. And I think the speciality thing, like, I really, really believe that, I'm so disappointed I can't get Carly to stand somewhere, because someone that is doing something, that is affected by something, is the best person to write policy. I am farming. I am affected by these policies coming forward. I understand, and I only understand everything more because I speak to teachers, I speak to doctors, I speak to nurses, I speak to surgeons, I speak to people. I know the building industry. I was there when it was reformed and we were all spit out. And, so it's, that's the thing. It's like, if that's another thing I want to talk about briefly tonight, which I think there's, Carly might speak a little bit, because she's seen it, I haven't, on the social dilemma.
She's ready.
But she'll love that.
Thanks, Kelly.
But a side note, the Kiss the Ground movie is out on Netflix. I haven't seen it, don't have Netflix. Anyone that does, hey, watch it, get back to us, tell us what you think. Drop us a little email on the ATTICA on the ATTICA website. Tell us what you think of that movie, what the favourite bits of it were. There's a couple of documentary sort of movies out at the moment that are dealing with sort of what's happened, and they really and one's a New Zealand made movie from a really cool book. And we will do a little live stream on that. I want to try and actually get to see it though. But this other one, a few years ago we used to watch this, and everyone's going to cringe because Harvard is a bit of a rough subject. But anyway, this guy, he's actually seems to be half decent, really cool. And anyway, this Harvard professor, he was sort of. He's real interesting, but he's hit the nail on the head. He's talking about the fact that basically people that actually do things are excluded out, and how that's happened is actually through education. And the idea being that this whole manual labor thing, or working in coal mines, working on the farm, these are all sort of legacy jobs, and people need to be retrained. Actually a couple of the major parties have retraining policies and incentives to retrain people from these legacy jobs at the moment, but by the by. So the idea that we're all going to be re-educated, and the big push for being re-educated is, well, you don't like living in poverty, well, you need an education, and then you can join us here in this sort of utopia where we're all educated. Consequently, what's happened is we've got a parliament that's full of these educated people, per se, but none of them, well, not all of them, but most of them haven't really lived the life that we all live, where we go paycheck to paycheck. We don't actually have free healthcare. We don't actually, when we need an urgent operation to get back to work, we have to wait 6 months, 2 years, 3 years, and then probably get declined. We can't afford to live, and we're only really going into debt. This is actually worldwide. And, New Zealand is a prime example of a country that has gone from parliaments once before. They were the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker. That's what they were. They were the farmer. They were they were the people that worked in manufacturing. I mean, look at Levin. Levin was mainly manufacturing, and it was mainly growers. It was mainly enterprise. The real entrepreneurs that produced a product. Not some airy-fairy thing that you sell on Wall Street. Actually something that you eat, wear, drive. Mike spent his time working, making cars. And, that's that whole industry. Like our two electorates that we stand in were the real workers' electorates, Otaki and Mana. Mana had a huge employment, with the car industries and all that sort of stuff. So there's a hell of a lot of things coming out that for that whole theory of the establishment, the propaganda, all of that sort of stuff, the conspiracy theory and all that. There's actually a lot of things coming out to actually explain stuff. But I'm going to shut up for a little bit because I really want to hear what Carly has to say about the about that particular one that you watched, mate. Because as soon as I can, I'm going to watch that. Is she there?
Oh, no, microphone's off.
I think your mic's muted, just like my one.
Can someone send her a message?
Look at her. Hey, Carly, you might want to...
Put your mic on. You're a message?
How long is this blooper to go?
Oh, she's got serious. She's trying to figure it out.
Yeah. No microphone.
I could have tried to lip read her and try to do her voice, but that would probably come off really bad.
A bit too much effort, eh?
Yeah, no, I just can't quite get the accent, and I'm not really that good at it.
Hang on, I'm going to send her a message.
Calling for Carly's voice over. Yeah. All right. Well, Michael. I think.
Oh yes, so that was true.
You can see me now.
Oh,
You can hear me now.
Can see you.
I was going to say.
You're talking to yourself.
Oh my God. Yes. Just blame that on age and menopausal brain, maybe.
Yeah. But it does go on the blooper reel, that one, because that was not that I could see it, but now this will have to be a part that I have to watch afterwards. Before I go on to, thankfully my little helper has actually told me about the name. The professor was Professor Michael Sandel. Obviously, I probably could have got the first name, but yeah. And it's the tyranny of merit. And so anybody that wants to look that, it sort of helps explain what it really matters is that, with a lot of people are coming to the answer of it's obviously all this. There's a lot of more of a structural problem to why we are here. And if we start to understand that, we can actually turn around to people that do manual jobs like grow our food, build our houses, and we can treat them with the respect that they deserve. That's one of the biggest things that I'm standing for, and that people that are specialists like Carly and teachers, doctors, we treat them with respect because they deserve it. So anyway, mate, sorry. Now that you're not muted, I could have done that before, and we could have actually covered that, but we so like making bloopers that it's just too much fun to do, actually. But
Don't worry, October 19th
I
or
bet you
20th,
Sam-
you'll see
I
the
bet you-
montage.
yeah, but I bet you Sam had that because he could have switched the screen out, but I bet you he had the screen up the whole time while you're still chatting away.
Oh, he did.
See, the thing is, they can't see when I control the live stream. All they can see is the comments. So I'm in power. I can do whatever I want. See, I could actually technically mute Carly on the stream, even though she isn't muted on Skype. That's the power I have. Call me the government, but
Well, Michael, I was actually trying to explain to you that you must have misheard me because I actually haven't seen that documentary
Oh, bugger.
as yet. But I,
Oh,
But
that's
I-
just
I
mad.
was
Cowardice,
inviting
Charlie,
you.
Sorry.
I was inviting you to come and watch it with us tomorrow night, if you like.
Yeah, well, that's what we better do. But
Yeah.
just to give the broad gist of it, because I mean, it would be really good if other people watched it and we could have a stream about it and we could chat about it. Because I think the technocrat part of society is just a fascinating thing that we have to, as a country, we have to be so fluent in to understand it.
Absolutely. I know that it is about how social media are manipulating our thinking and our very way of life, simply by suggestion and by censorship and by giving you more of what you want, and it's developing a society of people who want instant gratification and who have no resilience. I know that is the gist of it. I actually haven't watched the whole thing, as I said before. So yes, you are invited to come and watch it.
It wasn't made and produced by Mark Zuckerberg or anything, was it?
No,
Okay.
I don't think so. I can actually look it up now for you.
Looking it up.
Who was it? Okay, so the director was Jeff Orlowski. Yeah, it says.
I want to. Yeah, sorry, I just noticed that Kelly Thurston's in there. I want Kelly Thurston to put in the comments for us just exactly where she's standing, and for what party, and just introduce herself to the chat.
Colin Kelly, typing. Please type. If you're still in the stream, please type. I can't actually see who's in the stream, but all I can see is numbers, so...
Oh, you can't see those comments, Sam.
I can see the comments, but all I see is
Yeah.
numbers.
She put some messages in the comments just a minute ago.
Yeah, she should be able to.
So I mean, anytime we're on stream and we have somebody that is standing, we're going to shout you out and get you to, is she gone? PM her and get her to come back on. She needs to actually say who she's standing for and where she's standing and stuff like that.
I just want to apologize for the cameras. Sorry, they're glitching out right now. I'll fix that real quick. No, it's just a technical issue. Just a second. Let me switch it to Michael's camera, and then I can fix it behind the scenes. All right, there you go, Michael. You can speak.
There you go. So Kelly is standing now. I'm going to ask my enunciation expert to say that. I know it's Ralphity.
Ikaroa Rafferty.
Yeah. And Kelly Thurston is an amazing, amazing woman. She is absolutely brilliant. She, when we were in the outdoors party, she's a tenacious little pocket rocket. She's the only person that I've ever met for the first time, and and I've met. I've been walking down the street and bumped into some big Samoan boys, and they've bounced off me. I'm only little. I'm quite solid. Kelly hit me so bloody hard she nearly knocked me over. So she is absolutely hit the ground running in that electorate. She's bloody tough. So always awesome to see candidates come on into our stream, and later on, or even during this course of the election cycle, we're going to try and get a few other candidates on. Anybody else in the stream that we should be shouting out to that actually is stand? Because it's a big thing. It's a big thing to be a voter. It really is. It's a big responsibility to vote. Don't be freaked out about that though. But you're taking part in this thing that we call democracy. It just does not happen if we don't vote. The biggest thing that would scare the pants off these politicians is if every single person that was eligible to vote came out and voted, and that's decisive. We had a lot of wasted time with people trying to merge the smaller parties. It's not what we need. We need more smaller parties. We need more ideas, especially while smaller parties have got this leadership model, because they really only break down to one person. It's still only 15 members of parliament. So if you had 15 parties. So the real big thing, like the ATTICA project, is all about making sure that, when we build something in the future, out of this, that, we're going to be the phoenix that comes out of the fire. We're going to make sure that every candidate, like Kelly, has an opportunity to shine. That nothing, like once you're position towards this running for election, you've got every opportunity to be supported, and you got to make and helped. It's tough, man. You're going to find that a lot of people don't want to know you, and you're going to find, like, the hardest thing to do, the best thing to do, is if you can, when you're talking to people and somebody says to you, "Oh, no thanks," and you can actually turn that person around to actually communicate to you one-on-one as one human being to another in an absolutely equitable way, where you're not bullying them or anything like that. It's like, just give me a go, I'm giving you a go, blah 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 blah. And you can actually find that you actually have so much in common that that person becomes somebody that's going to vote for you. And that's what this is all about. And, when people say they're sorted because they're going to vote for a political party, well, I don't know. I think that we have to really think outside of the square this time. We really need to get the people that are best for the job across the line. So,
Michael, do you think that is a possibility with the 5%? What's that called again?
Threshold.
So yeah, with a 5% threshold, I think if anything, in the next round, before elections, we should be pushing for a referendum to lower that threshold and to enable more diversity in Parliament.
Well, it certainly has.
5% threshold is really, really quite restrictive on smaller parties.
It's not the only thing, though, is it? I mean, like we're going all right, considering we're self-funding and we haven't got a lot to put in.
Exactly.
But like it's taken a mammoth effort. So the thing that's painful though is, this is not an equal opportunity across the board. Like I see some parties are starting to get really, really annoyed about the leaders' debate where they're not being allowed in. Minor parties have got a lot, have got a real good axe to grind there. But I think that overall, the available or the, let's say that the conduits to being able to have the knowledge of just who's standing or what have you through this election has not been there, eh? I mean, like if there was, I'm not going to say Facebook shadow bans small parties or anything like that. Let's look at it the other way. There's not really an open source platform really where people get an opportunity to see even the things that we've done. Like if Sam hadn't filmed those events that we went to about 5 or 7 or something like that, where we're all really competing our ideas against each other and then having to answer the questions from the people. If Sam hadn't filmed them, it didn't happen. It was only that small number of people that was in that room. And, when you come across people and they say, I've made my mind up who I'm voting for, it's like, how? How did you make your mind up? Like I understand with the party, if people are quite tribal with their party vote, and I understand that, but how do you make your mind up about a candidate? And then this very thing, like, what you're saying about dropping the threshold, I've never seen an election where it's so open, where don't vote for me, only vote for the party. Like, that seems bizarre. Like I'm breaking my hip down to be like, like I believe enormously in the ATTICA project. If the Labour Party, I can see with the Labour Party, like they're sort of more about the party. If the Greens Party, it's more about the party, and I sort of get that because they've got that big number that they look at in the polls. But, I'm passionate about getting there to sort of kick back all of these things that are sort of hanging over us. I just don't understand why would you stand if you're not, if you're not genuinely going to, I mean, Jesus, you could end up in there. Like if it was something freaky happened. But I don't understand. I don't think that's a very good system, Carly. If people can, you're meant to be standing a member of Parliament. You're standing as a member of Parliament. If you don't intend to be a member of Parliament, how can you stand?
Oh, I agree. I agree with you there. I think ultimately, for me, the ideal democratic system would be that all candidates are independent and that party politics eventually just dissipates and disappears. So what you're actually doing is you're voting people in for a job. They don't have any affiliation or any party loyalty or don't have to toe the party line. They are truly representing the people and nobody else. But that might be the ideal, but that's not what we've got at the moment. So until that happens, and it might never happen, we work with what we've got, basically.
But I think that pressure may come on that percentage, but I guess especially after the last election, like that would make that would probably make a big difference. But the other side to it too is so when I was in Australia, there was there'd be these ads you'd read, and they weren't allowed to discriminate against age, and they weren't allowed to discriminate against gender. So, and over there they've got what you call they had a graduated licensing system that really was time dependent. It had no way to skip the stages. So, and at the top end of that was, driving the road trains. So really you would probably be about the youngest, I think, was about 25, 27, till you get the licenses up to drive these road trains, because when I was there, I was 22. But you'd read the adverts, and it'd be wanted road train driver, 15 and up, and it's like, well, you can't actually drive a road train. You can't get qualified when you're 15. But and that's sort of where we're at. Like here, it's like you're trying to sort of get a little party going. To get your electoral funding, it's based on what you got at the last election. Well, if you didn't have any funding, or you self-funded, or worse, if you were corporate funded, which we've had a few parties now that have been corporate funded, so they've been able to drop in $1 million or what have you, and then thrust themselves out onto the political fray. And that's the last thing that we want. The one thing that we do want is, or I think we do, is grassroots movements in a way where, we're the real deal. We haven't got $1 million because we haven't got corporate backers. But, and to get your electoral funding, unless you get, I can't remember what the percentage was, but I think you had to get over, whatever percentage you got over, anyway, that declares what percentage of funding you get. You could perpetually just be stuck at the bottom your whole life unless you can find a corporate sponsor. And the thing is that sort of begs the wrong way to me. It's sort of like, well, if you want to start a political party in this country, you've got to go and find Mr. Megabucks, who you're only going to be working for, or, to quote old mate Plunkett, is like, when he talks about, he bashes religion a bit, and he's like, the Brethrens did this and this one's did that, and but that's where we're at, and it's sort of like, so it's not a freedom of, an equal opportunity, isn't it? Is it, Carly? I mean, it's sort of the percentage, the entry levels too hard. Well, not too hard, but it's favouring big business. It's not favouring big heart. Like that's.
I agree.
I think that regardless of, I poke a bit of stick at, howling at the moon and all that sort of stuff. But these people still are going on heart. They're going on. They're going on. The morality of something, or the merit of something, the true merit of something from the grassroots. They're not going on it from the merit of whether it's academically merit. They're going on it from a grassroots, a merit of well-being, a merit of wellness, and that's what the Green Party came from, and that's. Today, the Green Party looks completely different to what it was.
I agree.
The Labour Party looks completely different to what it was. It was born from the worker. It was the party to support. It was really the hence the name Labour. It was really a the party for the labour unions, and you know, and that was, well, specifically around state employees, which are around our state, what they now call state-owned enterprises, but they sort of were the foundations of this country, which was our the teachers, you know, the education, health, welfare, and all that sort of thing. So this was the party that represented that, and you know, does it really represent that now? And it's like, then you look at National, and National was supposedly the well, yeah, sort of the right, but
right.
more the I think the old school was really like, it's, you know, it's obviously its idea of being conservatism, and liberalism doesn't really cut it, but it was more the people that do stuff in the private sector, and it was supposedly the business people's party. At its worst, it was the business round table. At its you know, all of that sort of thing. So, you know, and then we've got, you know, these newer parties. We've got parties that are supposedly green parties, but they're backed by huge, you know, seem to be backed by huge technocratical ideas, and that's not, you know, your atypical hairy armpit hippie swinging around in the food forest. Like, you know, that's what I call a greenie. You know, a greenie is, well, we used to call them tree huggers. You know, but realistically, what is a greenie? A greenie is somebody that really, really cares about a safe environment, nutrient dense food. I'm not sure greenies are going to be, after the green school thing, are actually going to be quite so keen on the green schooling all the children. That sort of hit the skids, didn't it, mate?
It sure did.
So, you know, like that was a bit of an obvious one coming, because that's still a charter school.
Exactly, that's what I was about to say.
But so, I mean, you know, we're sort of, I don't know, what will this look like in 3 years' time really depends on whether people vote today, whether people get out en masse. And if you really, really want to change it, it's really encouraging all your family, not who to vote for, but to vote and to think about, well, you know, really nag us to get to know us. And the ones that don't want to let you get to know them, well, there's your decision. You know,
Exactly.
it's as simple as that. It really is. It's like, there's, you know, for me, it's like, you know, this is the part I enjoy. I just want to see more people, and I want to I really need to know more stuff. If I hadn't met Carly, I wouldn't know anything about education. You know, we met a lovely couple on the weekend, and, you know, I know that, you know, that person really wanted to tell me what I need to know about transport. And that's what we're really seeking out in the ATTICA project. We're trying to seek out those people that are going to bring that speciality, where we can start a policy and then start building it in local labs. You know, like that's, and like I said, stitch the left and the right together on the things that, you know, can be obvious that are for the best for this country, because pork barrel politics didn't work. You know, the provincial growth fund, that's you know, that was a real education for us all. That was a disaster, and, you know, it could have worked if it was something that really had cross the party support, and, you know, it had local labs. If it had local labs and the community could have organised how that funding was best spent, you know, that could have worked. But it's an absolute failure, and it's going to cost us environmentally down the track, because these are all the pine trees that have been planted on iconic sheep and beef farms, and it's just so sad. And it's, some things, there will be good things come out of it, but when you spend $3 billion and you get one good thing that's worth $5 million or something, that's really bad fiscal management. It's really just, it's giving a party something to brag about at election time or something like that,
I think on this theme, one of the things that really struck me when we were talking to the people in the community this week was a couple of them actually said for them it's not about party politics anymore. We're in a situation in New Zealand where actually they wish that everybody just worked together for the better of New Zealand, not for brownie points, not for any kind of monetary gain or anything, but they wish that the government would actually just drop everything political and work together to make New Zealand a better place, and and to get us out of this recession. And that was, although that might sound completely idealistic, it is, I think, ultimately what you're talking about, Michael.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that's part of it is talking to the older generation. A lot of times we I miss my nana. I miss my dad. But the great thing is the very first sort of thing that you do when you stand with regional council, but more so in this, I think, is what blew me away is the older generation is just really just so devout to giving the next generation of political candidates a go. So they set up all these meetings and you go to them. And I really felt a consensus that they don't want us to be like America, where two sides throw bricks at each other. Yeah. They're old enough. A good percentage of the generation that lived the war have passed away, but the older people, the intergenerational knowledge of today that we probably don't use enough. And the younger generation we don't actually use or engage enough and mix it together, sort of thing. But that they know that in that wartime, like that particular parliament, that it just that all of that stuff was thrown out. There was a job to do. Everybody got allocated specific jobs. And you just got stuck in, and it's like, here's the problem. You work together to fix that problem. So and it's sort of really what I'm saying. It's like if the current members of parliament sitting there think that this country actually has the patience for them to behave pretty much like children for the next 4 years. I think so. Even if they went and borrowed more money and started throwing out wage subsidies again or something like that, I don't think that's going to cut it. Yeah. The people they know that even before COVID came along, things weren't tracking good. We just wages hadn't changed, and they're wanting answers. To see, let's be fair, we heard for a long time about rockstar economy and all of this sort of thing, and next thing we had the bloody GFC. It's sort of like, we've only got, X percentage of GDP in borrowings and da-da-da-da. So that doesn't even mean anything, okay? It doesn't mean a thing. It's it's like fuzzy wuzzy was a what. It's like the reality is we trade 49 million, we buy 49 million. We are in a stagnant economy. We don't produce.
Exactly.
We're actually doing everything that the climate people don't want us to do. We're actually shifting. Like, wasn't that a great post the other day by another one of our ex-outdoors party people showing us? I think it was who shall remain unnamed. The fish, the hoki. The hoki that had been caught in New Zealand, gone all the way to China and came back to a pack and say shelf in New Zealand for sale. Like, that sort of stuff's just dumb.
It is. It's absolutely ridiculous.
That's what the EU, like in the local labs that they've formed, that's the things that they've jumped on. That's why our New Zealand beef and lamb has been blocked, because we didn't actually understand what they've gone through and what they've done to stop it. And our trade envoys and our private trade envoys went and dumped a whole heap of beef and lamb on a supermarket. So all of the supermarkets in the UK have blocked us until we pull our bloody head in. And this is the thing. That's what we're saying, is it's fair trade. And, they know that they can't afford they don't want their farmers to be hurt by what's going on. And, there's times when they do need, they've got a shortage. And, and there's also an interest in buying our product and not their own product. So they can mix it up a little bit. But just jumping on it, so like lamb's cheaper to buy in London than it is in New Zealand, is just disgusting. And those are the sorts of things that who's going to argue that? The thing is we've got protesters standing outside a coal mine banging pots and saying, we don't want the coal to be mined. Yeah, I can see that argument, but do we want hydroelectric dams that are worried about the share price with extra water in the dams just discharging half of the dams into the waterways because they want to create scarcity so they can drive the prices up? But that's the problem. That's something that past generations have actually we paid through the nose for those to build those dams under Think Big, and the audacity of a private-public partnership to do that. Like, that should be the end of that. It's like TY Point. Want a simple answer for TY Point? We've propped it up for so long. If that company, the two foreign-owned companies, do not want to put money in the same way that our government puts money in or the taxpayer puts it in, we've actually put enough money into that now that we actually own it. Bye.
Yeah, exactly.
That's simple. Close the door. Bye. See you later. And then we just reopen it as New Zealand's smelter for aluminium. These are the things that we have to be bold in doing. We can't be wilting violets. We actually have to, that's just good business. And saying that we're going to subsidise a foreign-owned company that's suddenly got fish hooks in its pockets. Bad luck. We've bought it as taxpayers. We've probably bought it 10 times over. And there's 5,000 jobs or 2,000 jobs or whatever. It doesn't matter. We need our own aluminium smelter. We don't want to be shipping aluminium here when we can make our own. So pretty easy.
Yeah, well, we're coming up to an hour and 20 minutes. Would you like to just read the last couple comments and then we'll move it off from there, eh?
I don't know if you've been
Jamie
scrolling down.
Jamie Gray was asking you a question, Michael. It said, Michael Kay, in a candidate meeting, you said some stuff about the history of hate speech. Can you go over that some more?
Oh, yeah, no, okay. So I've been asked about that a little bit. So, and some of the other candidates asked me, which was great, because the history of hate speech goes back a long way, okay? So, obviously, once you can control the speech of the populace, the population, I better be careful with the word populace because I've been talking about populists. But so once you can control the speech, then you've created that drafting gate. You've created that ability to control. So if we look at the two foundation theories of humanity, well, they're not really the only two, but Aristotle, he was sort of like, if you're like, he was sort of like anything goes. Even if say I was the dumbest person in the room and Aristotle was the smartest person in the room, he would make sure that I got half the time to speak, and he would only take half the time to speak. He would never say shut up, you know, and he would be 100 times smarter than me. So whereas Plato, he believed something quite different. He believed that everybody was dumb and he was smart, and that society actually failed on dumb people. And so, because they were disruptive and all that sort of thing, and and you got to control them because like you don't want that riffraff doing all this sort of different stuff. So the Plato thing that turned to Hegel, and it sort of turned into that whole era of the Soviet or the Bolsheviks, and all of that struggle, and of course he who shan't be mentioned, that whole era of control. So how did it happen? So in 1923, when this little guy with the little short, horrible little, like, why would you do that anyway? Like this little short moustache under his nose, goose stepped away into history, and the government at the time went, oh my God, a bit like Donald Trump. It's like, oh, we've got to shut this guy up. He's just horrible. So, and he tells all these lies. He just lies all the time. He's like they probably just said lie. I don't know what they said back there. Like I don't know the German word for lie. But I don't know any German. Oh, I do actually. I do know a lot of Germanic words, but I'm not allowed to say them. They call that swearing. So anyway, they must have thought at the time, like, we've got to cut this guy up, man. He's really, really scary, and he's getting really popular. So they passed these two laws, and the two laws went against what really is the core belief of Aristotle, which is the freedom of information, which is based and supported by the freedom of speech. So they brought in illegal to spread false rumour. That was passed into law in 1923. Consequently, hate speech law was also passed into law. And then they went, sweet ass, fixed it. Well, it didn't fix it. What happened was those were the very laws that he used to round up the Jewish people and to put them in concentration camps. And not just the Jewish people, the German people, anybody that hid Jews. And this was what was happening in the Soviet Union. And we've actually done a hell of a lot of research into it. The fact that this is not taught in schools, just how important it is. Now, here's the worst part. Karl Popper, who was an Austrian Jew, fled that. And where did he flee? He fled to New Zealand. And in New Zealand, he wrote a book, and it's no relationship to a certain somebody. It's actually a crime that person took the name. But he wrote a book called Open Societies. It's not the inspiration to the company or the foundation that's Open Societies. It's got nothing to do with that. But Karl Popper was given protection and a very, very welcome space in our universities in New Zealand. And he wrote Open Societies, and he helped sort of make best one of our best laws, which is the freedom of information. Because he said that the most important thing wasn't just that we could speak, it was the fact that we must have the information is what we speak from. So that's huge. I mean, it's topical, but I mean, it's like the thing is once you actually see something that is in full, you can't unsee it. And we shouldn't unsee it. And what we said after World War II is least we forget. And we've forgotten. And we've got professors that have come out of universities and they're like, this didn't happen. Well, this did happen. And this is the only reason. Well, it's not the only reason why it happened, but it's much harder for bad things to happen if you've got the freedom of information. We've got some significant people that tried to free information, like Assange. You know, Julian Assange is only being got at by what you call the officialdom, because he's released all the information that they do not want you to know. You know, we would not have known that the Iraq. Everybody accepts that now. That's not conspiracy theory. It's not anti the right thing to say. That was an illegal war. It was genocide for oil.
Mm-hmm.
And we would not have known. But yet Assange was saying it. He was saying it at the time. So and really, is it the freedom to speak? It's really the freedom of the information is the important thing. So, yeah, illegal to spread false rumour is removal of freedom of information. We've got a lot of movements in this country that talk about free speech and all the rest of it. It's a waste of time to you unless you've got your information. And, you know, like, that was the thing that I'm thankful that I did spend a lot of time is actually making sure that you confirming that you cannot get information very well in this country. A lot of people complain that you can't get official information requests fulfilled. Like, you know, you actually can't. Information is buried away, like the Soviet Empire. Even MPs from the Green Party that have written some, from the old Green Party, that have written some substantial documents whilst in government, whilst they served this country, whilst they swore that oath to this country and to the Queen or whatever. But to us, we voted them in. We can't see those documents, and that was part of government at the time. And so, yeah, I mean, that's a significant thing. The whole bus, the party bus that's going forward on free speech, that ain't going to be successful. Well, it's not necessarily going to be a force for good if it does not focus on the two things of how it happened. And it's not speech as much. Like, speech is in trouble, but the freedom of information in this country has been in trouble for a hell of a long time. And it's severe right now. So any other, because we are over time, I don't even know how long are we going to do. I mean, we're all tired and probably Kelly's talking about PTSD. Absolutely, PTSD and return service people.
Workforce.
My mic wasn't working. I was just like Carly just before. Dang, the stream didn't hear my mic. Anyways, as I was saying, yeah, we've still got a constant viewership, and we're almost like an hour and 30 minutes into the stream, which is amazing. Yeah, do you guys want to keep going, or you want to conclude it here? Because there's still quite a lot of comments still going through.
Quite interesting. There was a comment about propaganda should be made illegal, which my
If it were to be made illegal, you'd have to get proof and stuff, though.
Well, not only that, but is that not just censorship? Perhaps a better solution to that would be to actually teach people to think critically and take responsibility for their choices and actions, as I've written up there. Yes, propaganda is a weapon, but it is easily neutralized by some kind of intelligence.
Yeah, you can it's sort of sunlight. You're holding it out in the sunlight. The other big part of that is that's where it comes down to the open source part. I guess one of the most scariest things is going back to what you'd call like the most severe authoritarian, which is fascism.
Yeah.
Really doesn't matter what brand it is. It's like, it's sort of like Subway. Every sandwich tastes the same. So if you're really looking at it, there was sort of there was the Bureau or the Ministry of Information. The Ministry of Information, like you could say that was propaganda or what have you, but it was sort of what it was that was the official fact. So, and that's consistent. That goes right through, the Soviet time of it. It goes through from Mussolini, goes from Mao, all the authoritarian or the total tyranny or the real tyranny of evils all have like the ultimate fact. If we go back to when religions became sort of not a force for good anymore, they were the ultimate fact. The Bible was put into a canon for a reason. It becomes the ultimate truth. So, and not all religions are like that, of course. Religions of today are sort of like religions of today have actually become quite liberal, and religious people of today have got that sort of. I mean, that's an indication that I guess that the secular religion of governance has become unliberal. When religion looks more liberal than the secular side of things. But what we're seeing today is that there's fact checkers. Now, it was quite an interesting thing. Now, if we just put partisan politics to the side, right? Let's just call it the Tinky Winky Party and the Po Party, right? So the Tinky Winky Party said that they had
Sorry.
because of Po's party's policy, there had actually become 20,000 more people on waiting lists for houses because it had delivered less houses than the Tinky Winky policy, the Tinky Winky Party.
Can't help it. Sorry.
Dan likes it. Anyway, what happened was
I apologise.
The big bad wolf fact checker came along and said, well, it's not really true. Okay, so I thought that's quite interesting because how could you stuff that up? Whoever said that, obviously someone was going to fact check you because, at the moment we're playing the fiscal hole problem, which was what the Tinky Winky Party did to the Po Party last election, but now the Po Party's doing it to the Tinky Winky Party. But anyway, so we thought, oh, hell, Anyway, the fact check comes in and goes, it was 19,978, or have you know, it wasn't 20,000. And it's like, and that's an incorrect fact because it was 14 or so houses out. It's like, that's actually it's actually fact. It's actually so material fact that it's inescapable fact. And and here's the fact checker saying, well, it's false. Like, what that does to people is it's like, hang on, is there something wrong with my reading comprehension? Is there a typo? And that sort of thing. It doesn't help. It doesn't help nobody because what's the fact? the fact checker, it's not. Next time there's a story that says it's been fact checked, I don't even want to read it, because how do I know that they're not going to turn around and prove the thing the person claimed? Now, sometimes fact checking stories come out and they are fair and reasonable, but really, like Carly says, it's up to us. And if the information is free and it's out there, you should be able to just go on Housing New Zealand's site and see how many houses were on the waiting list. It should have clear data. Like, I should be able to go on the land transfer site of New Zealand and type into the search bar how much of this country is owned by foreign companies, and how much of it's owned by New Zealanders and New Zealand tax-paying citizens, how much of it's owned by blah blah blah. And it should be able to just actually go, enter, and it should just tell me. It's like you can actually send an information request to the Transfer Office of New Zealand in the digital age, and they say, we don't know. We actually don't know. So, and we could claim anything. Thankfully, there's people that actually record the sales and document it. These are just people that really, don't want to see New Zealand sold off to foreign companies. And, so fact check that. If you're not keeping the data, how can the land transfer thing actually fact check it? It just gets to be a real mess. So, but yeah, so that's part of what our whole thing is. It's the freedom of information is really that, it doesn't matter who's in government then. It's as long as we've actually got we've got real information in front of it. I won't say fact, because fact's an objective word, I think, Carly.
Directs it to the teacher.
Well, I lost you halfway through that because you went into cyberspace for a little while. So could you repeat that that part that you want me to answer?
Look at Michael.
Right. No, actually, no, it is. It's actually quite easy, because all I said was, and it's a bit of a merit question. Fact is actually subjective. And if you haven't got real information, it's actually just mystery, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And actually, we're just having this conversation on the comments. If you have a look, yeah, it's really difficult to explain to people that science actually is as infallible as religion or anything else for that matter. Because if we want to know the truth is what is. No interpretation, no thoughts around it, no bias. But we are never actually presented with the truth. Just because somebody scientifically or somebody went to study this, whatever it is scientifically, doesn't actually mean that that's the truth either, because that everything that's in science is actually based on a premise, and people either prove it or disprove it, but it doesn't necessarily mean that is what it is on its own. Does that make sense? I mean, I'm very much an Aristotle person.
Yeah. No, but that's that there in itself. It's like, so if you're from a scientific perspective, if you're trying, like, let's rule out trying to prove that the world is flat. Okay, let's rule out trying to prove the moon's made of cheese or something like that. But let's go down to like something that, like if you're trying to prove, like at the moment, say that E equals MC squared doesn't exist. Not something I can do, because I'm okay with physics, but my whole thing is biochemistry, You know, and
Yeah.
I've warmed to physics now that I don't have to worry about string theory anymore. Because I really did think that you had to actually be able to buy into string theory, or you had to actually understand it. It's sort of like people must think that if you don't understand algebra, well, that's it. You know, maths is out for you. It's like, well, no. In fact, you can come back to algebra. But so yeah, no, that's a massive thing. It's like, I think where it came down to it, it comes down to the paradigms. So if you're not going to stay paradoxically locked into something, and if you've got 20 people and they're all able to think freely, that's quite a productive thing. But if you've got 20 people and they all think the same thing, well, you've only got one person, and that's and that becomes the automatron. That becomes going back to 1923, and then along came 1938, you know, and by 1944, we're all, they're all in the situation that we're in. And I mean, when we look at that, we're starting to see that automatronic behaviour, which I actually really like. I like the I think it's so important our young people are to be a flair for difference. I think that they're having to manifest that difference in some pretty obscure personal inversion ways.
Absolutely.
And it's like it's extrovert, but it's not really extrovert. It's more about your own personal thing, which when we grew up, that sort of stuff was really whatever. We don't really care. And that's the thing that I just think, like, man, young people are like so awesome, today. Like, there's so much potential that a freer society could just. We could easily see the end of all of these high suicides and all that sort of thing with just a completely different way. Just living a bit more an Aristotle way than a Plato way, You might
want to read the recent blog I finished today and actually sent through. So it may come on. All of this is actually part of that blog. And on that blog, I'm using about how I've noticed that, especially during this week of us talking to people and on social media, and also we talked about the with Michael King and his suicide charity being dropped. But it occurred to me that it's actually everything in the human experience is about being connected. And a disconnect causes just about every problem that we have. And it occurred to me that a good education would be an education where everybody was taught to reconnect with themselves, and change their awareness from separation to the fact that actually, if we're going to look at things in scientific ways, everything is energy, everything. So we're actually connected at the most fundamental level to everything in the universe, and everything is connected to us. But if we are not aware of that, we are so easily disconnected and then easily manipulated and controlled.
Yeah. If you're getting isolated, well, I guess one of the most hardest thing is where there's sort of like a push to be conformist. I think that's one of the worst things I hate about the idea of conspiracy theory, is because every decent scientist I've known or worked with
Has been non-conformist. Yeah.
Yeah, it has been like an odd bod, complete conspiracy theorist, because you're trying to push the most craziest ideas. I mean, imagine what they thought of Einstein going and getting obsessed with earthworms. You know, like, here's a guy that's like, you know, well, you're really smart, mate. What are you doing, you know, messing around with earthworms? Like, there's the sort of, like, the thing is when you discover something, you've moved away from the paradoxical norm, and which has been
which is a belief system, isn't it, basically?
Yeah. And so you're all sort of, you know, like, so, you know, you're the lemming that basically said, no, I don't think that I really want to follow you guys off that cliff. I'm pretty much going back to the pub. So, you know, and that's like, you know, it's sort of like when you're on a job site and, you know, you've done this way, or, you know, this is what we've got to do, and some young fella says, why don't you just do it this way, you know, and you, oh, whatever, dickhead, you know. But then, you know, it sort of becomes, it's like, oh no, that's it, you know, if you work with it, even if only half the idea was a good idea, next thing you're starting to progress. And you know, we've got even worse than that. We've got now our older and our, this is the saddest thing about the building industry. All of our older people that didn't have tickets got just, whoop, off you go. And all these young people turned up that had Polytech degrees, couldn't cut a sheet of ply straight, couldn't read a bloody plan.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
And you know, wanted somebody to hold their hand to lead them around the job site. You know, but they could fill out a site safe form, and they could fill out, you know, filled out a lot of them, an incident report, and you know,
that's
all
exactly
that sort of
the same with teachers. Exactly the same situation. You know, there's not very many career teachers left in the profession, me being one of them. But a lot of the attitude is, oh, you've been around a long time, so you know, you must be stale. You must be becoming obsolete, which is so number one, condescending and frustrating, but number two, you're missing out. You're cutting off so much experience and so much that can be given to the younger generation at the same time. And it's exactly the same situation, isn't it?
Yeah, well, that whole, you know, they like to call us the Rust Belt, the working class. What we call, for a while, we became blue collars and white collars and all this sort of stuff, you know, classing people. But basically, you know, the artisans, the people that work with their hands, but it was really everything, farming, building, it was just passed on from the current generation to the next generation. And it was a graduated system that basically, you know, you tried to speed through it. Either fate knocks you back down, or you know, a good foreman would put you back to your capabilities within the workforce, and put you alongside somebody better that was going to help you progress up to being capable to, you know, keep moving up in that workforce. And that's all been broken, and so we don't have enough builders. We don't have enough of those workers. We're screaming up for tractor drivers. We're screaming up for people to work on farms, and you know, we've got an idea that we can just produce these people like automatrons out of this system. They weren't ever produced in that system. Nurses were never really produced out of nursing school. They were produced out of hospitals. They did a lot of the theory, but they actually worked on the ward. You know, they worked their way through. You know, teachers a little bit too. You know, and then they were propelled on to do their masters. So Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that what we started out with, like the legacy way that is supposedly less good than this new way. Well, I think the new way's pretty shit, really. I think that the legacy we need to, before we completely just bypass with the older generation, and my generation, we haven't been taking part at all. There's a big absence to us because we are the FTP generation. We just like stuff authority. We're going to go and do our own thing, whatever. Whereas the older generation has sort of patiently and impatiently sort of beavered away, but we'll lose that ability to retrain quickly with that older workforce. But we've got to allow access. We've got to allow these people to come into it. It's just amazing. We could so quickly build the houses that we need if we just got rid of a hell of a lot of regulations.
Absolutely.
So we have potentially we've got nearly to the end of the stream tonight. I don't know if Sam's still awake.
No, I've just been
Which could be awkward
you see me
because
doing some poses
if he
before. I
did-
was doing something random.
if
Just
he
got a little
did
bit.
actually- If he did actually nod off,
I
what
think
we
the stream
do?
would
We just
the stream would keep going.
so we just have to sit here and
All
sort of every now and then yell out, Sam.
Yeah, you'd have to get some popcorn, put it in the microwave, come back and be like, "Hey guys, I've got some popcorn. You want to chat about what flavour your favourite is?"
Yeah.
Caramel popcorn.
So Sam, that was you snoring, not Mike Iles's dogs.
No, it wasn't me. Don't make me walk out of this room and leave the stream running.
That was George.
I wouldn't blame you.
I'd make a funny joke. I just got verified on Tinder. That's why I was doing those weird poses that asked me to do verification. I got a little blue tick now, so that's why I'm pretty excited. Sorry, I had to put that in the stream. I'm so sorry. I just had to say that. Just to kind of clear up what I was doing with this pose thing. It was asking me to do some stupid poses. Okay, well, I think are we gonna end it off now? You guys all good? You've had your good chat with everyone. I'm sure everyone in the chat's a little bit dead now. Yeah. Anyways, yeah. Thanks so much, everyone, just for coming into the stream. We all really appreciate it, and just to have 7 people watching for 2 hours straight. I mean, like, what life do you have?
The same as ours, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. It's probably like us, Sam, where we don't bother paying for the bloody TV.
Yeah.
It's nothing I want to watch.
Yeah, I'm sure they all love us, eh?
And like, if you're still watching, please, like, we're going to try and watch these couple of movies and stuff, or documentaries, whatever they are. I mean, Kiss the Ground, like, been looking forward to that one for quite some time. So, we could just about
night tomorrow.
yeah, we could probably just about have a Kiss the Ground stream. Probably get copyright strike though.
Yeah, that's not happening.
No.
No, we can talk about it though.
Yeah.
I have to watch it. Is it on Netflix?
Yeah,
Okay, let me put that in my
pretty
notes.
sure.
What's it called? Kiss the Ground.
Kiss the Ground.
From what I'm thinking from that title, it sounds like some environmental enthusiast that's trying to kiss the ground. That's a bit weird, isn't it?
Yeah, no. It is,
That's a typical Netflix movie.
yeah, no. It is. It's
Soil and climate change, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll probably watch it tomorrow. I'm actually watching a Netflix movie. Well, I just actually finished a Netflix season last night. It keeps me up. I'm watching it, and then I look at the time, like, oh, it's 2 a.m. It's like, okay, wow, I'm yeah. Anyways, Kiss the Ground. Okay, yeah, I'll check that out, eh?
Yep, sweet. All right, so we'll try and advertise these streams a little bit earlier next time, Sam.
Oh yeah. I advertised it at around about 4 o'clock. So if you did see it, make sure you just keep a lookout on the pages and YouTube channel, because that's where you're gonna get a notification of when we're gonna go live and whatnot. And also, if you go to the thisquality website, which is thisquality.com, at the lower right hand side there's a little notification bell. So when we do go live, that notification will get sent straight to you on your computer, if that makes sense. So if you have Windows 10, it does work, and it will pull it up on the complete right hand side. So if you're watching YouTube, it will pop up on the right hand side of your screen, and it'll tell you that you're going live, which is an amazing feature. And you can also follow all the Facebook pages, which allows you to also get a notification. But yeah, just try and stay notified with all of us, including the ATTICA project, just in general, because they're doing something amazing. And the people that are on this live stream right here are brilliant people to just have a good chat with. Me being young, I learned a lot of things, but just they have a lot of knowledge that, it's not biased. It's just something that I can learn, because I'm joining the news industry and I want to know the history, and that they're a really good source of information just to have a good chat with. Anyways, we all look like we're about to zone off.
Thanks everyone. It's been great.
Yeah, no, thank you for joining, and looking forward to next time. And absolutely, we've got to be out and about around Paparam, or got to do Otaki pretty soon. So we'll try and put some of those things up on the Facebook pages and stuff. It's just been a bit hard to be able to be that organised to be able to predict where we're going to be, but we'll try and do that next week. But yeah, thanks everyone. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you next time.
Yep, awesome. Carly and Mike, would you like to say anything before you go? Or?
Thanks to everyone for joining in. It's been great this evening. It's always really good to have the energy from other people being put into our live streams. So thank you, and hope to catch up again soon.
Make sure you come to the next stream. It's got to be like your addiction, like your weekly addiction. Like, instead of watching Shortland Street, come and watch us. No hate to Shortland Street, but you know what I'm saying. It's just a suggestion. We're like the most real reality show right now that's premiering on thisquality and ATTICA. Before we go, make sure you do go check out the ATTICA website, and you can see it in the lower corner down below Michael Kay on the stream, which is www.attica.nz. Make sure you go check them out, because if you don't, I will use my journalism skills to track you down and question you. Question why you didn't check out their website and policies and stuff like that. But they deserve it all. But without further ado, we're going to end it off, and thank you very much everyone just for joining, and thanks for the chat tonight, guys.
Ooh. Oh. That's the dog.
Yep.